Great. At this time, I would like to call to order the June 25th, 2024 meeting of the Hartford Joint One School District Board of Education. We could have a roll call, please.
Here.
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 Here. This is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the district's business, and it is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. Any district resident or parent of a currently enrolled student wishing to speak should have filled out a card located on the sign-in table and given it to the board secretary. Mrs. Hoffman, is there any? This time we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Ed, would you lead us tonight?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Number 3, consider approval of agenda. The agenda notes the board's mission of we will support our community through dedicated governance, leadership, and stewardship so that our students achieve. It also states our values and expectations as a board in governing our meetings. The purpose of the agenda approval is twofold. The first reason is to verify that public notice has been given according to state statute 19.84. Mrs. Hoffman, has the meeting been properly noticed? Yeah. The second reason for approval of the agenda is to consider tabling an item or to rearrange the order of events. Are there any concerns with anything on the agenda? All right. Then is there a motion?
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. Number 4 is the citizens delegation to be heard, but there are none to be heard. So we're going to move on to number 5, which is the district administrator's report. So I'm going to turn it over at this time to Dr. Villalobos to get us through a few of these topics.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Mrs. Wilk. The very first thing that I wanted to share today is the safety drill report. So this is an annual report that we complete every year. This is based on all of the information that your building leadership teams put in place. It's for all of the safety drills that we conduct throughout the year. We work collaboratively with the fire department and the police department. And so we've included that information for you here. The next thing that I wanted to share was the family survey. So I apologize for those of you who are at all of these meetings because you've heard me say this numerous times, but I'm going to say it again. Last year, we started giving the Gallup employee engagement survey. So we repeated that with the staff this year. This year, what we did that was new was we also surveyed our student population on engagement and hope. That was at the middle school level, not at the elementary, only at the middle school. And then Dr. Ragazza followed up with that and provided that as part of a report in January, along with our Gallup employee engagement information. So this was the third prong of our engagement surveys. And so we sent out the family engagement survey in May. We did not have great response rates in terms of percentage of families that participated, but we did have good feedback that we reviewed as an administrative team. And then I also followed up via phone call with anyone who left their contact information in the survey, seeking additional time to talk to me. So I was able to have some really good conversations through that as well. The 2 parents that actually wanted follow-up were very positive. About the district as a whole. They were very happy with the experience that they received at the elementary. And then they said that both the elementary and the middle schools were wonderful. They did have some constructive information that I shared with Mrs. Wilk during our meeting prior to the board meeting about just some things that we could do at Central. So then in terms of the survey itself, we surveyed families on the 3 specific board goals. Those board goals are making student-centered decisions, making decisions that are financially sound or fiscally responsible, and then also making sure that our schools are safe. So in looking at the survey results, I'm very pleased to say that at the elementary level, all of those questions, all 3 of those questions were answered with the majority of people feeling that they strongly agreed with all 3 of those school board goals, that we are doing those things. At the middle school level, everything also skewed in that direction, that people felt that we were strongly making decisions that were student-centered, that we were doing a good job with our spending, but that they did have some questions about student safety. And so that was one of the things that was brought up during my interview process last summer. And it's also one of the things that Dr. Rogatska and I have spoken about this year. And one of the things that Dr. Rogatska has asked for is a dean. So we have, through the board, you've heard about the dean proposal. So we have been in interviews looking for a dean to help support us, to make sure that we in turn can support the staff and support students. So that would be a third member of the administrative team at Central Middle School. So that was the biggest piece of feedback. Some of the other positives that I wanted to share, and I won't share everything, but people really felt strongly about the safety and the student-centered decision-making at the elementary level. They felt that we were really doing a nice job about including families, listening, responding, and then encouraging active participation. And while that was a free response, I would also say a lot of that, I think, is very indicative of what we do through the community coordinators program. I feel like those individuals have done a really nice job bringing back some of the community events, reaching out to families and making sure that they're engaged when we have our family nights and such. So I think all inclusively, I think that that was a really nice piece of feedback. People are really excited about communication and all of the communication that they're getting through Parent Square this year, as well as the ability to translate that. And then we received information about purposeful people. People seemed overall really positive about the pilot that we did, and we did approve that as a school board recently to bring that on full-time for next year, along with updating our character education at the middle school level. Some of the neutral items that came up were staff retention, and so that is a concern. But anytime that we're working to build a culture and making sure that we're changing some things that are in place, change takes time, and we want to make sure that we have a team full of people that supports the mission. So that did come up as a concern from parents taking the survey, and that is something that we're working on. We certainly want to get the right people on the team. One of the things I've been really impressed with all of our building leaders, but I'll specifically single out Dr. Rogatska at this time, is she's been very creative in terms of getting interviews set up. She's reached out to our local colleges and universities. She held a virtual job fair. She has also done a number of cold calls through WeCan. So done a really nice job of getting a hold of people and then attracting people that will support the 3 board goals that we're working towards. There was information that was neutral in terms of people just don't really understand the budget process. So even though they felt supportive of how we're using our funds, not necessarily comfortable with budgeting. And I think that that's a natural feeling for most people. School finances are a little bit different than regular finances. Discipline came up as something that people were both had positive experiences with as well as negative experiences with. Parent engagement offerings, there was a question of could these be put on the web? We've discussed that a little bit in terms of some of the speakers don't want to be on the web, so it does have to be a face-to-face opportunity, but perhaps there are opportunities that we could do as a district. And then negative items, people wanted sports and after-school social events. And so this was a negative that was actually really positive because we are making movement in that direction. And we just need to do a good job of promoting that because next year we will have cross-country and track at the middle school. And then there are plans to join the Badgerland or Braveland, middle school conference for both volleyball and basketball in future years. So it was a negative, but actually we have positives there. There was information listed negatively about bullying. And so again, that goes back to the dean. It also goes back to the work that our assistant principal and deans, now assistant principals, did last summer by creating a bullying matrix. So I know that they worked hard on creating that and then also communicating that at parent meetings in August. And so just making sure that people are aware of those things. Looking for clear expectations, helping parents feel part of a partnership, consistency, and then just there was one comment about parents feel very heard at the elementary, but are there ways to include them more at the middle school? And I think that that's one of the things that we see throughout schooling is quite often, people are really involved at the elementary, a little bit less at the middle school and a little bit less at the high school. So how do we combat some of that? So overall, we got really good feedback. And we certainly have areas to grow in, but we also have a lot of strengths, which I'm really proud of too. And that goes back to all of the people working in the district. The next thing that
Can I
I,
interject one thing?
Oh,
just on
sure.
The family survey, I want to thank you for summarizing that for us.
Mhm.
I did want to address one thing, just because I have heard in the last week, as I know some of our board members have, and the administration as well, that there've been some concerns in the community specific to Central Middle School. And I wanted to just say a couple of things to kind of quell that and set the record straight on a few items. I first want to just say that I think Dr. Villalobos has done an excellent job in the last year of really listening and kind of trying to understand where the district is and how we're going to move forward. So I think a lot of this last year has been observing and making plans, of which there are many, of which we cannot do all at once. And for instance, like you mentioned, bullying has been an issue since your interview process at the middle school. Unfortunately, and Dr. Rogatska can probably speak to this, as can any of them, the teachers or administration here, that is not an easy button, push it and it's fixed problem. It is a multi-dimensional problem that requires the work of many of our teachers and administration here. So I just want to say that I do think that the work is being done internally from the ground up, creating a foundation on which we can build upon and kind of get that into an environment that all of our parents and community members feel good about. Secondly, there's been a lot of talk about staff leaving the middle school, and I can't say much, and I said this to someone else, I can't talk about why anyone is leaving. That is employee private information that we can't discuss. However, there's a variety of reasons why teachers move on. One better than the next. There are all kinds of reasons. We have lost 13 people to middle school. And I want to say that clearly because there's been a lot of numbers floating around in the community, and I just want to be clear, it's 13. We have hired 5 people already. And I know that Dr. Rogatska and Dr. Villalobos have been actively interviewing all day, every day, all the time. And that there's a lot of great candidates and a lot of people who are really close to filling more of those spots. So I wanted to say that right now. We are very aware. We also don't want to fill warm bodies in positions that are going to be interacting with our children and helping to build this culture and create an environment in which, again, our students and our parents feel comfortable and secure and confident in this district. I'm speaking to you now as board president. I'm also speaking to you as a parent who has children in the district. So I am also very passionate and concerned, and I share in all of that with the community. But I also have a lot of faith that we are on the right track and that the changes we're making are going to make positive and lasting future change for our students, for our teachers, and for administration. So this is not a topic that we're discussing at length. It's not going to be a discussion, but I really brought a lot of concerns to Dr. Villalobos in our meetings in preparation for this meeting so that I could address some of this with the board, with the administration, and with the community. So I hope that those of you here and those of you watching at home will know that. And certainly if you have concerns, I know Dr. Villalobos and Dr. Rogatska have taken a lot of them, but I know that they are both open ears, welcome to talk. Dr. Villalobos has called back people who requested her to do so from the family surveys. So they are here for you. We are here also, but as board members, we can't talk about all of this stuff in the way that they can. So I encourage anyone with additional concerns to reach out. And I just want to compliment you for this first year here and what you've done. And the work is not done, but we are taking great steps in getting to where we want to be. So thank you for letting me steal a few moments here. I appreciate it.
thank you, President Wilk. The Title IX policy update is next. And so I've given you a brief update about this previously. As you know, Title IX was updated federally. There are several states that are appealing that decision. Wisconsin is not one of them. And so there are some things that we are going to have to do, or you are going to have to do as a school board next month. And I just wanted to preview that so you're aware. There are going to be 3 action items all revolving around Title IX next month. The very first one is that you are going to reapprove our old Title IX policy. The only difference is that policy must remain in effect, but it will have a single date change. It's simply a technical change. which actually means you don't even need to approve it, but I still need to talk to you about it. So this covers that base, because that policy will have to stay in existence until that Title IX sunsets. New Title IX is regarding any type of or all forms of sex discrimination, not just sex-based harassment. And so there are 2 action items that you will need to do for this policy. It's a brand new policy, which by our policy 0131.1, we need 2 readings for. July is next month. We will not have 2 readings. Ms. Keneally and I are going to be working on that policy this Thursday, and then she's going to continue the work next week and the week after, so that way we come up with something great for you. But because we have 1 board meeting to get it done, you're going to take 2 board actions. The first board action is to waive the requirement for that policy of ours that says you need to have 2 readings, okay? And then the second action is that you will approve the new title policy. So Neola just got us that last week. I've shared that with Mrs. Keneally. We'll be going over it. We will bring you something. We are going to be meeting with multiple sets of attorneys over the next few weeks to get you something that's very quality. However, it is going to be done very quickly just because of the timelines that the federal government has put on us. So that's Title IX. If you have any questions or concerns, please know that you can reach out to me. I've shared my notes with Ms. Keneally so far, and now I've passed the baton, but I have extensive notes on what they've given us so far. The next thing that I wanted to share is Act 20. So there had been rumblings in terms of what would or would not be approved. And you've heard Ms. Malter and I update you on Act 20 throughout the year. Last week, DPI did confirm that they have selected NCS Pearson as the supplier for the statewide reading assessment. That will be for our youngest learners. So that is not all grades, that is our youngest learners. So we're looking at kindergarten through 3rd grade or 4K through 3rd grade. That is Ames Web. There was some controversy around that, which is why there was a delay. However, they do feel like that contract will be done probably the middle of July, right around July 15th. Because of the timeline and because of the quick pace of everything, they have updated some timelines in terms of how many screenings will actually be given the first year versus future years. And then this is something that the state of Wisconsin is paying for, so there's no cost to us. We might see a cost, but then we'll be reimbursed. They have not issued that yet. However, that is only for our youngest learners, so we still need something for grades 4 through 8. What Ms. Malter and I have been working on is there an Ames Web? Does that continue? Does it give us what we need for our other learners? Because the biggest thing for us is if we use one screener at the lower elementary grades and a different screener at the upper elementary grades, they often have their own benchmarks. And so then the data here does not jive with the data over here. So we have to figure out, so now what does that mean for the middle school? Ms. Malter and Ms. Ragazza at the time worked through screening. And so they had a committee all year that did a lot of work on what we could use potentially moving forward. And then Act 20 threw a wrench in it. So we've got some work done. We've talked about a process for next steps. We'll be bringing those as we are able to, but I just wanted to give you a quick update on that.
And that's kind of what will take place in some of the exact path diagnostics.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Or could take
potentially,
place.
yes.
Could take place. Then the last thing that I wanted to share are a couple of board updates. We did have our board workshop meetings. Those were with Mr. Majerus, myself, Mr. Hanlon came to a couple of those. And then we had PRA and Myron along with us, as well as representation from Baird. So those I feel were very informative for people in the audience. If you're interested in seeing some of the boards, we have some examples over here by Ms. Hoffman. But we do have 5 community information sessions. One of those was held already. And while I will say it was not the most well attended, the guests that we had in the audience were people who were employed by the district. We appreciated their attendance, but it was a good opportunity for us to do a trial run of our presentation. And we were able to then convene and make some updates the very next day. And we also talked about some other methods of how we might inform the community. So we have 4 additional days. I will be sending that information to the newspaper. sometime after July 4th, just so that way it doesn't get posted before July 4th and then people forget about it. Mr. Majerus already has a table up at Maxwell Street Days. He will be facilitating a booth there. And then we're talking about being at Harvest Festival in the fall, closer to a referendum date, should the board choose to move forward with a resolution. Then we also have our family nights in August and in September. We'll be communicating through the chamber. And then we gathered feedback from all of you about additional groups in the community that you might think or you might suggest us speaking to. So we've talked about a number of different ways to advertise so that way we can get the word out. And for our guests in the audience, we have done a facility study this year, which is normal. You do a facility study when you have Fund 46, which is a capital improvement fund. So we have that. It's part of the requirement of having that trust fund. And when we did that, we learned that we have a lot of updates that are needed at Lincoln, but also some ADA concerns and updates at Central Middle School. And then we have some concerns over at Rossman in terms of our generator, a few other things. I know Mr. Majerus is chomping at the bit to talk, but I'm not going to let him today. You can see him on stage at one of our events. We have 2 in July and 2 in August. But through that, Mr. Majerus worked with Baird to determine what that cost would be and how much we can contribute as a district and what we would need to go to the community additionally to ask for. And then we're looking at a 0 cost increase through the mill rate. So it's a good time for us to do it because it does not impact community members negatively. We want to make sure that we're being fiscally responsible, which is that 3rd, 4th goal. So so that was a little bit more than I expected to say, but because we have people in the audience who probably weren't aware of that, it was a good opportunity to share a little bit. Yep. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
We're moving on to our discussion. We have an administrative report in regards to the food service department. Mr. Majerus will provide a brief overview of the food service program recommendations.
Thank you. In your packet tonight, you have a couple of things that you'll be taking action on potentially. We went through an interview process. We had some great candidates and we're poised to hire a food service director pending your approval. She's an excellent candidate. She's very excited to start. In fact, talked to her about an hour and a half ago in terms of what the process will be next. Assuming that you approve her hire, she'll be stopping tomorrow to take care of some things. I also have her coming in one of the days next week to also kind of knock some things out that we need to get going. But again, very excited that we had multiple candidates to choose from, excellent people, and we found the person and recommended to the person we think fits us the best with our changes that we have moving forward, going self-operated things. So that's exciting for me. Also, further on your package, you're going to be approving a modification, moving one of our staff people to an open cook position at Central Middle School, which again, I think fills up our staff there. That's the heaviest production kitchen. So we need that spot filled. It wasn't vacant for a couple months at the end of school with a departure of an employee. And so we think that'll be great. There's still some hires to make yet, but I'm confident we'll get those put in place and be ready to go for the first part of school in August. So
Thank you. For those in the audience, we are separating from Tahoe. We're separating from Tahoe, which is why we're going to have an independently direct hire of a food service administrator, which we haven't in how long, Adam?
23 years, I think the previous person was contracted through Tahoe. So it's a change for us, but I think it's, again, I think it's a good change at the right time. And again, should provide us overall some more flexibility in terms of how we run our program, what we offer, and again, it lets me manage it a little bit more closely without having to worry about an outside company's goals for our program versus what our goals are for our program.
Go ahead, Don.
Was the first service hired from within or did we go outside for that?
It's an outside candidate.
What was he or she doing that prior to coming here?
She was a food service director at
At
another
Randall.
school district. I'd rather not say necessarily where, but
It is in your
another
background.
school district that she had been doing food service directing for.
And I just want to say, it was an open, it was a posted position, so anyone who wanted to interview it could interview for it, is my understanding. So I think there were
Yeah, we
6
got six.
candidates.
I think we had 6 candidates overall. We kind of went through our normal process of screening and trying to find the best one, and Dr. Villalobos and I held the 3 interviews. And again, all excellent interviews. Tough decision, but again, the right person for the job at this time.
Very exciting. That's good. Another point in our discussion section here is the achievement gap reduction, which is the AGR end of year report. Per the AGR grant, end of year goals for K through 3rd math and reading must be reported to the school board. And so am I passing it over to you or to?
You're passing it to me and then I'll pass it over to
Okay.
Ms. Malterer. I'm very excited that she's here today. She is on vacation, so just so you know, she's choosing to be with all of you while on her vacation. So Ms. Malterer is our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, and we'll give you an update about AGR.
Thank you, Dr. Villalobos. Yes, I did not want to miss out on an opportunity to share about student performance and student growth. So we really do have a lot to celebrate. Thank you. As indicated, the end of the year report is shared out annually, and this report really serves as a snapshot of student performance in both math and reading. So it certainly provides us with some very valuable information, but of course isn't the only indicator of academic success or opportunity. So let's dig in. You have 2 reports in front of you. We'll start with math. When looking at the end of the year report for math, just a few items to consider. We are looking at the percent of students who met the end of the year grade level expectations, K through 3rd grade. And it's really important to note that the mid-year assessment, as I reported on mid-year, those questions were checking for mastery at the standards that were currently being taught. So it's really important when you're comparing that you're looking at the baseline percentage and the end of the year percentage. So you'll notice in kindergarten, the end of the year, students who met grade level standards, 67%, which is an increase from 49.1%. You'll also notice that we've included the historical trends. Those are included at the bottom of each grade level. And this will show you that that percentage tends to fluctuate over the years. In 1st grade, end of the year, students who met grade level expectations in the math number quarter assessment, 78%, an increase from 50.8 in fall. Taking a look at 2nd grade, again, those assessments are cumulative in nature. End of the year, students who met grade level standards, 62%, a small decrease from the baseline data of 64.9%. You'll notice historically, again, some fluctuation with those percentages. It might also be fair to mention here that within a strong data culture, we know the worth and value of teacher assessments and formative assessments, which have indicated a lot of student growth in mathematics, including 2nd grade. So just important to keep that in mind. In 3rd grade, end of the year, students who met grade level standards, 55%, an increase from 32% in fall. We certainly look forward to connecting this data and talking more about this data with our staff in August, as well as reviewing with our instructional coaches and more with our administrative team as we talk more and think more about the AGR goals for next year, as well as the strategies to support those goals. Moving on to reading. In reading at kindergarten, you'll notice a number of sub-skills are assessed. You recall that from mid-year. In kindergarten, if we're looking at students who met grade level expectations at the end of the year, there's an increase in that percent of students who met those grade level standards in all areas of phonological awareness, which again is a huge celebration and very exciting to stop and pause and celebrate that. The other goal in regards to reading K3 includes the benchmark assessment. And you'll notice that is 40% an increase from kindergartners are not assessed in fall, but an increase from that mid-year assessment collection of 6%. In first grade, growth again in all the phonological awareness skills. Take a look at blending. Wowza. 90% of students met that grade level expectation and mastered that skill in first grade, which is really exciting. And then if you take a look, that benchmark assessment is an increase from 2% in fall to 62% here at the end of the year. We've had a lot of great conversations around the benefits of the phonics, but how much we can almost anticipate those skills starting to impact more profoundly when we measure students and their comprehension, making a more profound impact on that. In second grade, end of the year, students who met the current grade level standards, again, an increase in all of those phonological awareness skills, even in substituting, which it really is the most complex skill. Additionally, the benchmark assessment in second grade also shows us an increase from last year, 53% from 13%, in fall. So an increase there. And third grade, reading performance, an increase in third grade as well. We're seeing really positive trends. Again, some pretty whopping percentages there when you're looking at blending and again, that complex skill of substituting. The end of the year benchmark assessment also shows an increase from 20% in fall to 64% at the end of the year. Again, it's just really exciting to pause and think about what this data tells us our students need us to know and really reflect on, share all the celebrations, but reflect on next steps and strategic planning. So we're excited about that. You will hear back from us again in fall in regards to the updated AGR goals, as well as the strategies that may be revised for that.
How do we set those AGR goals?
That's actually something that we're going to be doing again. Ms. Melcher alluded to that. You gave a little teaser. We have been looking at, are you talking about our benchmark, like where our benchmark is? So that would be based on data.
The goal. where
The
it says
85% overall.
Yeah, based on the student data
Yeah, okay.
that we have.
Okay.
But what Ms. Melcher alluded to earlier was the fact that right now we have been using smaller class size as one of the ways that we are meeting the AGR requirements, and we are going to be updating that to talk about our tutoring that we have, and then instructional coaching or coaching for our teachers too. So that'll be part of one of our updates in the future.
Okay. Thank you for coming, Ms. Melcher, on your vacation.
What did I say? Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, we're moving on to district business action item number 1. Open enrollment transportation request from Aaron School District 2024-25 school year. The open enrollment transportation request from Aaron School for the end of the school day includes transportation to Schubert's Movie Theater and on County Road O, County Road K and S, Limerick Lane vicinities, South Limerick Lane vicinities, sorry. In addition, no transportation will be provided to school, and transportation will be made available only to current open enrollment students, not including new alternative enrollment students at the specific identified locations. This approval is limited to the 24-25 school year. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the 24-25 open enrollment transportation request from Aaron School District.
Second.
No, this is something that Mr. Majerus and I have talked about, and we'll be working with Ms. Kalina on in the future. As you can see, this is a 1-year request, so we have the opportunity to make changes as we work with her collaboratively in future years.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, contract services with CESA 6 for the 24-25 school year. The district contracts with CESA 6 for services which are used throughout the school year. Services purchased eliminate the need to hire district staff or full-time staff. CESAs are used to save money and are reviewed on an annual basis. Is there a motion or discussion?
I motion to approve the contract services with CISA 6 for 24-25 at a cost not to exceed $27,396.
Second.
Any questions or discussion of this?
So if I can go over what's included in this contract, just so you're aware, the very first thing is the learning and assessment membership. That's what Ms. Smelter and I participate in every single month. That's where we get our updates about things like Act 20, about civics requirements, about anything changing with testing or with standards. This is a virtual opportunity, but they have offered some face-to-face opportunities, and it's a good chance for us to network with other directors and help connect with other school districts. So that's what the first one is. The next one for just over 10,000, that is our evaluation system. And that's actually reimbursed through a grant. So it's a cost we pay, but we're reimbursed. The next is our annual membership fee. So every district in a CISA pays a membership fee. So that's what that is for. The next part is impactful early literacy. And so you've heard us talk about Act 20 quite a bit. I'm very proud of the plan that we have in place. It does keep us in compliance and meeting the needs expressed or outlined in statute. However, it goes beyond that because we will be using the James Cox campus training. It's a virtual set of modules with our teaching staff. But then this specifically contracts with CISA to help us bring that learning into life. So it's an opportunity for extension and meaning making for our teachers. And then the last piece is in regard to our title grants. And so this is an opportunity for Ms. Malter to get, again, networking and support with our grants. It's also something that could be paid for through the grant if we chose to.
Thank you. Can I have a roll call vote? Sure.
Yes. No more discussion.
I don't see him.
That Don was gonna say something. Barb?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
I say aye, and Aaron.
I see it. Motion carries. Item number 3, education for employment plan and academic and career planning. The planning documents require annual approval and will be posted on the district website for accessibility as part of required notices to families. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the education for employment plan, academic and career planning posting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in, go ahead.
I was waiting for you to look at me. I was just going to say, this is a requirement. You heard Ms. Wilkes say that this is a requirement as part of our annual postings. So this is something that comes out of our curriculum department in here at district office.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on, number 4, English Learner Handbook for the 24-25 school year. This handbook outlines the district's EL programming from identification and assessment to program services and staffing resources. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the 24-25 English Learner Handbook.
A second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I'll just make a comment. I mean, I heard, I think Marla was here last time or a couple times ago, and just hearing the success rates by the program, you know, having, I think it was 6 kids exit. You know, we're doing the right things to help those students and families get ahead in our district. So I really appreciate that we have a program for EL, and I appreciate that we have really good work around that. And I know that needs to be continued. We have more and more people coming into the district that need those services. And I just appreciate that we acknowledge that. And I think we're working towards, you know, a good future for them. I would agree.
I would just add, coming from a district where we did not have a bilingual population, this handbook that Ms. Perfect has reviewed and updated for us is very thorough. It's very supportive of our students and families. It contains language in both English and in Spanish, as well as all the forms of documentation that are needed. So it's nice one-stop shopping for our kids.
It is very thorough.
Yes, very
Long.
thorough.
It's 76 pages, yes, it is.
All the handbooks are on this.
All the-
There was a lot of reading for all of us. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 5 is the Student and Family Handbook for 24-25 school year. This handbook is reviewed by administration, updated and approved annually. There were edits marked in the copy that we all got. This is a part of online registration and will be available on the website, in the schools and district office, and throughout district newsletters. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the 24-25 student and family handbook.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
So I would just say that this is a handbook that we've used in the past, but it was updated this year. That's something that we'll do even earlier next year, so that way we can have that done and prepared. But this is an opportunity for us to communicate the rules, expectations, and guidelines, especially given some of the information from our parents' survey. There's opportunities for that. The one update that I would share that came in later than everything else was we made an update to the tardy information, where we had defined it for the elementary levels, but we also added a definition for the middle school. So that was the update that was included with your board packet.
And I think I'll just make a comment and reading, the entire handbook, which I do encourage parents and family members that have children in our district to read. I appreciate that there was a lot addressed in the sense of when there was a situation that's happened in the past few months, we looked at that, and those conversations did actually, come across, and the handbook was changed to accommodate some of those concerns that parents had. So again, I think our district is listening, and I think that's really important to know that we are being as transparent as I think any district is. And I really appreciate that with our administrative team.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion? Mrs. Strong, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Ed,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Barb,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
and I say aye.
Motion carries. Number 6 is the employee handbook for 24-25. The handbook has been reviewed and updated for the 24-25 fiscal year. Dr. Villalobos held optional discussion sessions for the staff to attend virtually. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the 2024-25 employee handbook.
Second.
Perfect. Any questions, discussion?
Sure. The very first thing I want to say is if the student handbook or the EL handbook was long, this one is 172 pages.
Yes.
So that is something that Ms. Navarre and I are going to be working on. We did shorten that some, but not as much as either of us would like. It's a lot to digest. We did host 3 virtual sessions for people to participate in. It was optional. We had pretty good participation, especially the first day. The second and third days, we had about the same number of staff members online. And I invited staff members to submit questions ahead of time. And then I went through what I thought would be the key updates for them. I also asked for feedback from people. I asked for feedback on dress code. I also asked for feedback on from people regarding the number of contract days for employees new to our district. That's something that Dr. Gotza and I worked on very well, and I told the staff members on the call, this makes perfect sense to us. We know what we're trying to convey, but if you don't like the way this is worded, please reach out to me so that we have updates. I did get 2 people to respond about dress code. No one had any updates or suggestions for the contract number of days, but I do think that we have a good understanding. There were some things in the handbook that added more opportunities and benefits for our staff members. And then there were some things that clarified, as well as some things that asked for more rigor and professionalism. So I will be sending out the update from this board meeting. I'll send an update out to the staff tonight or tomorrow, depending on when we get done, so that way they see all of the highlights in the handbook.
Any other questions?
Again, I'd just like to comment, fantastic job. I, again, see the conversation. I see, you know, the rapport that's going on between staff and the district office. You've listened to some of their concerns and we adjusted accordingly. And I think in their favor, I think we're really trying to retain staff and help our district be back where it should be. So I appreciate all the work that's been done because I know it's not easy.
No, but I'll tell you, I love this stuff. The team knows. I love policy. I love handbooks. It's nerdy. That's on recording. Enjoy.
So.
We're not gonna comment on that. We're gonna move on to a roll call vote, please.
Aaron,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Barb,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and I say aye.
Motion carries. Item number 7 is the District Administrative Assistant Guidelines for 24-25 school year. The guidelines have been reviewed and updated for the 24-25 fiscal year. Is there a motion? I said school year, it's fiscal year, and I apologize. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve, no change. Oops, sorry, I'm one ahead.
No, it's an,
Oh,
it's actually an error in the,
Actually wrong. Yep, okay. Oh, it's on the table.
just read the blue.
Just read the blue. No, the blue says the
Motion to
guidelines.
approve
have
the
been-
guidelines for the.
Thank you. Motion to approve the guidelines for district administrative assistant.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
So, if the number of handbooks you've approved already wasn't enough, we have this handbook as well, which is significantly shorter. This is, what kind of governs our people who are calendar year and here with us in this office all year long versus our school year employees.
Seeing no other comments or discussion, could I have a roll call vote?
Mhm. Ed,
Aye.
Barb,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
and I say aye.
Motion carries. Item number 8 is the hire of a food service director. Adam mentioned this earlier. The recommendation is to hire Sarah Flitter for the food service director position. Sarah has experience in running a self-operated food service program. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the hiring of the new food service director for the 24-25 school year.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I already had it, I think. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Mhm. Ed,
Aye.
Barb,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
and I say aye.
Motion carries. Item number 9, food service preliminary budget for 24-25. The recommendation is to operate the food service program internally. This will bring about changes, but they will be introduced slowly. The largest change will be within the district in processing bills for the food, milk, and supplies, but there will be flexibility in menu planning and ordering. Food service contracts and meal prices have already been board approved. We did that last month, I believe.
Yep.
There is a planned 2024-25 operating deficit, but the current fund balance will easily cover this amount. Those numbers were in the packet as well. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the 24-25 food service budget.
Second.
Any discussion, comments?
I have one, and it's not really on this, but I just, going forward, as you said, there's gonna be slow transitions. I'd really like to see breakfast again free. Somehow if we can create that, in just looking at other studies and knowing what the high school is doing. And how many they service, more in the after school than their breakfast, but I think again, to compromise, or to inhibit learning in our district, I think all children need to not have empty stomachs, and I'm still concerned about that, and I really would like to see that in our district again, coming back where we offer free breakfast for sure.
Yeah, what I'd say to that is, I hear you. I would say that the high school sounds to me through the grapevine that they increased their prices relatively substantially. I don't know the exact details, so there is certainly a financial cost to them. I don't think our numbers overall were that different from when we were providing breakfast versus a paid breakfast service. We haven't seen necessarily a drop off for that. If we're somewhere between 200 and 250 students served at breakfast time. And if you, again, as we talk about 1,500 students, it's not like when we were doing free breakfast, we were having 600-800 kids eating breakfast. We just haven't seen that amount of change. I hear what you're saying. We'll consider that kind of as we move forward, but again, I think this is the right plan at this moment, but I will get taken under advisement.
I would not like to see breakfast be free.
I think this is an excellent point. I just want to be clear, this is not what we're voting
Right,
on right
no.
now. That's not part of this, but I
No,
think it is
it's
a
just
good
a comment.
conversation we could have in the future.
That can absolutely be a discussion item after Mr. Majerus and I do some research. And I would also say this is not something I want to bombard our new food
Right.
service director with right away. So I would not be comfortable bringing this conversation back until that person has an opportunity to get our regular food service program up and running successfully.
Yeah, I'm talking like next,
Yeah.
like
I will
18 months from now. I'm not talking tomorrow, but yes, I just wanted on the forefront that I still think we should be looking at that, making sure that we are servicing our families and our students that way too.
I will just add that last month we approved no increase in any of our fees for both lunch and breakfast. So that's a positive for our families. So there was no increase in that. So that's good. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
I say aye, Ed,
Aye.
Barb,
I,
Aaron,
Aye.
Don.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 10 is the preliminary budget approval for 2024-25. Annually, the district is required to adopt a preliminary budget for the following school year. Again, it is preliminary. Details for the final budget become solidified between July and November. The budget's in the packet. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary 24-25 budget.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I know I had a
As
couple.
she. as
I
she
know I had
gives me the
questions.
look- As she gives me the look. Yeah, to keep it as brief as I can, what you're seeing there, again, well, we know there's certain amounts of cost and what the increases are going to be. As we've talked about through the budget process many times, is the majority of our cost is people. So we know, generally speaking, what people we have that we are moving forward, what their salaries are, what their salary increases are slated to be, what we anticipate in insurance costs and other employee benefit kind of costs are. So we have a relatively good handle on that. It somewhat fluctuates by a person or two as, again, we get counts through the summer and try to see where enrollment is. And we've been very diligent at keeping the staffing at the right levels based on where our student counts are. So that's a significant portion of the expense side. Of course, maintaining buildings, providing transportation, providing food service. I mean, again, we know what those costs generally are. Transportation, the increases are slated via contract, and some of our other things are set via other contracts and other agreements that we have. The revenue side is the tricky part. So again, enrollment changes these things to some degree. What the level of state aid that we're going to get is an estimate. In July, we'll get those first kind of peaks at those numbers after July 1st. They don't set the actual aid that we're getting for next year until October, after everybody's kind of closed up and done with their financial reporting and can see what the state has for resources, and then comparing that to what all of the district's costs are and what our share of that pie is. So that's an unknown, and that does affect things like taxes. So again, we estimate with this budget where our student counts are going to be and what the aid is going to be. And that in turn then lets what property taxes we're going to need. So as you may have noticed, or we received a comment or question on like taxes, for example, taxes in Fund 10 are at least budgeted at this time to be less than what we budgeted last year. Again, that's a function of the revenue limit calculation. They tell us how much revenue we can have, both combined from state aid and our local source of property taxes. And so you know, as the students counts shift, that determines either how much aid we're going to get or not get, and then what our property taxes can be. So again, it's a guess right now, but based on declining enrollment and what our revenue limit is, and things like that, that's where we're slated to be. One of the other, or a couple of the other questions that were asked, ESSER money, yes, ESSER money is going away. We won't put the final claims in for that money. We have until September to do so. Again, as we wrap up the year, see what staffing and the other things that we're able to spend money on. We'll make those final claims. So some of the money will actually come into next year, but as a source of revenue, that source of revenue is going away.
That's the special grant line, right? Special project grant.
That's the DPI one.
What I would say is some of that line, yes, is that, but there's other special grant dollars from the federal level that we get. But a decrease certainly is generated mostly because of that.
Okay.
Another question was talking about Fund 46. Before I get to that, again, Fund 27. And we talked about this before, that's, you know, we do get state special education aid that is slated potentially to go up to some degree, but any expenses that we have in terms of special ed students, our budget in Fund 10 subsidizes Fund 27. So Fund 27 has to come to a zero balance. And whatever isn't covered by state aid versus what we spend for special education teachers, special education aid, and all the services those students need, including transportation and other specialty services based on needs. The rest comes from Fund 10. So in Fund 10, you'll see in the transfers area, for example, there's a significant amount in terms of interfund transfers, and a large portion of that is simply the transfer between Funds 10 and 27 to get that to balance out. Somebody asked about Fund 46. Fund 46. So the benefit to us using a capital improvement trust to help offset and fund our maintenance issues is as we spend, as we put those dollars in, first of all, if we have needs that are going to be needs in the future, but they're just not identified, we're not spending money on them yet, we contribute to that trust fund, and that counts as a spent dollar today. And the reason why that's important is because then we get aid on that spent dollar today. So it's kind of our balancing spot. The general fund balance, or any of the fund balance type accounts are the balancer for those funds, whether you're in a surplus or a deficit. We take all our available resources that we have left at any one year and contribute to Fund 46. And so again, it's hard to guess on what that number is today, because there's just so many things that happen in between now and then. I don't even know necessarily exactly where we're going to end up for this year yet for the contribution that we're required to make or have to make by July 30th. There's just a lot of moving parts still, and as we're closing up, paying out the last payrolls, paying the last bills across all different departments, you know, whatever's left drops out, and that's our contribution to 46. So that's how it works. Again, as we talk about our project, we certainly have plans to use a bunch of that money. So as you see, there's a big use in that fund. And again, that should not be a surprise to you, because as we've been talking about the project, we're planning to use some of those dollars. There's certainly some strategy there, whether we use those dollars first or the bond dollars first, if that's where we end up going. But again, for now, it's just best to put the number in there and show what it is. It doesn't really affect anything other than that fund itself. So, and then the other small funds like food service and community service and things like that. So it gives us a guidepost as we start the school year. Again, school boards have to pass a preliminary budget by June 30th, so we have some guide of where we're going, knowing that a lot of answers come in the next 3 months.
Thank you for that. I know a lot of those questions were mine, so I appreciate it.
No problem.
Maybe they were other people too, but I had a
They
lot of
were.
questions.
No
Okay.
problem.
Any other comments, questions? I'm happy, satisfied. Okay, can we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Barb,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
and I say aye.
Motion carries. Number 11 is the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes approval of minutes, bills, treasurer's report, and personnel recommendations. Is there a request to pull an item from the consent agenda? I don't think there is. In that case, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda that includes the approval of minutes, bills, treasurer's report, personnel recommendations.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Aaron,
Aye.
Don, I say aye. Ed,
Aye.
Barb,
Aye.
Item number 7 here is not an action item, but there is, in your packet was our board meeting reflection and feedback. So there was feedback from our previous board retreats and meetings. It's helpful for those of you in the audience, each of us fill out some pluses and minuses and questions we have every time we meet. I personally enjoy reading them later to find out where everyone's head's at, so it's very helpful. And our last item is adjournment. So could I have a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
Thank you, Ed. All in favor?
aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion adjourned at 7:02. Thank you to all of you who came tonight. Appreciate it.